know that you have access to whatever you need, the little bits you have access to anytime you need it. And that's part of what I teach, is that we all have access to the information as we need it from that big collective consciousness. And I think when I wrote that, even that little children's book, that's what I was doing. I needed the information and I tapped in and was like, oh, okay, I'll take this. And then I was able to make it. Right. So I think it's all the same thing. And that's what I'm realizing. All these little parts of what I've done are all the same, tapping in when I needed it,
It's, when you can tap into your gifts like that and utilize them in creative ways to communicate, it's super awesome.
I'm so grateful.
So, you ready to do some readings?
Yes, absolutely. I already did a little clearing for myself and asked permission for me to connect, and I'm ready anytime.
So, I don't know if anybody's here, but I got questions.
Sure.
So, this is basically a yes or no question.
All right.
When I was a couple weeks old, did Led Zeppelin bring me a stuffed animal?
I'm not feeling the specific item they bring you, but what I'm tapping into is the joy and connection of an experience. So there's I'm feeling like a sense of surprise and wonder, but I'm not getting a sense of the actual thing.
Okay, but what was it, Led Zeppelin or was it bikers?
What I'm hearing is that it was your connection to. So it wasn't necessarily actually Led Zeppelin. It was the connection. So it created a. Okay, hold on. I just got to translate. It's like a circle. There's like what I'm feeling is like, there's like Led Zeppelin, the stuffed animal, bikers, your emotions. There's this whole like kind of circle. And so it created like this connection is what I'm getting. And so this inspiration, this thing that made you feel special, but not necessarily, I don't have clear insight into the actual item or the actual event. It's the feelings around it.
Yeah, I can't get a clear answer on that.
And what I'm hearing though with that is that, okay, what I'm hearing is that time and space and events and how we remember events and how we connect to events are all based through our own perceptions, and that our own perceptions allow us to take away messages. They allow us to take away feelings. They allow us to take away experience. But how we actually experience it, you can have two people that have the exact same physical experience and come away with a totally different thing. So what I'm hearing to tell you is that the actual experience itself, the details of the actual experience itself, is not as relevant as the perception that's taken away from that experience and the inspiration and the motivation that has come from it. And that whether you remember the specific details of it aren't as important as the feelings around it and what it then created for you or became for you.
Wasn't good. It wasn't good. Let me tell you that. It's just been a question in my head for a while. So I've got this other question. Did I meet my ex-boyfriend when I was 7 and he was 14? Or was it before? In this lifetime?
I'm getting a yes, but it's It's a bit fuzzy, if I'm honest. I haven't done this kind of question before. This is fun. Um, Let me just tap in, because usually what I get is like information around like how to
Yeah, I understand.
deal with that situation. So it's a like I'm just tapping in. I'm getting a yes, but then I'm also kind of getting a
We
to ask you why, like more the meaning as to why that's important, that there's insight around.
Well, I've already asked this question before with someone else, so this is a second validation of that.
Okay.
Okay, let's ask if we met on Treasure Island in San Francisco.
I'm getting a no. And again, I'm not getting much information about that. Again, I get.
Yeah, well, that's probably shielded from a lot of people, so don't
Well,
worry.
and that's what I'm hearing, is that I'm supposed to ask you kind of that why that's relevant. Like
It's
why is
important.
that important?
It's important to me because we have had our memories, our minds messed with.
Oh,
And there was very dark things that happened there. Neither one of us remember.
I'm getting a no in terms of the Treasure Island thing. I got a yes to the meeting before. So if I tap into what's going on in terms of the memory.
I really don't need to know much more about
Okay. All right. All right.
okay, so he and I were we we've known each other for like ever, like literally past lives. Like we go back to Babylon. He was Gilgamesh and I was Enkidu. I was his best friend. I was a woman. And we were cursed. I want to know if this is true. And this curse was that we love each other and that we watch each other die horrible deaths. There's probably more to it, but
I'm hearing that that's true, that there is stuff to that. But I'm also hearing that in this lifetime, in this incarnation, you guys have both been around numerous times. You have transcended in lots of ways. You have come back numerous times with different soul contracts. You've come back and you've played different roles for each other in different times and periods in different ways. And sometimes you've been in roles where you've had to really challenge and push each other, and maybe didn't, it was challenging, and then you find each other in another lifetime, but you've challenged and pushed each other a lot. And what I'm getting is that in this particular lifetime, the veil is thin, so you actually remember a lot of the past life stuff, which so I just heard sometimes makes memories skewed and whatnot, because the veil is thin. So the time, space kind of stuff sometimes can get confusing, which can kind of blend and mesh memories. But what I'm hearing is that as you have connected and are transcending, that you don't need to keep repeating the same,
no, it ends this lifetime.
that it can end this lifetime.
Yeah.
That it depends on your learning and his learning.
Yeah.
Your, there's some specific sort of soul contract stuff that you're
Yeah, I'm
here
aware.
to do, and that he's here to do. And as you're doing the work, which you are, that it doesn't need to repeat.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. It's
that
done.
could be the end of that cycle.
We're done. It's like stop following me around. So here's an interesting question. We'll see what you get. And are he and I part of the Holy Grail bloodline? It goes back to Babylon.
Yeah. I'm getting a no specifically.
For both of us.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Okay, so hold on. I'm getting a no specifically, but there is
Is it
what
on?
I'm seeing is like a web, like a spider web, like a web. And so in terms of the specific bloodline, specific situation, the specific, you were at somehow entangled with that, that there was a, you were part of the web of that, not necessarily, I'm getting a no to specific bloodline, but I do get like a web, like an image of a web that's, there's definitely some entanglement with that. There's some connection to that.
Okay. Interesting questions. You've probably never had these questions.
No, I'm loving this. I've never done this kind of work before. So this is great.
Okay, here's one. I've got this weird connection with Zeppelin, and so does he. So because they were wherever we were. I guess I got conflicting information on that. Okay, is Led Zeppelin's art on their albums and their lyrics coded? And are there specific people that can decode them?
Yes. I'm hearing that there are messages that are channeled through some of their work. But what I am hearing is that there is some of their work that is a direct channeled message for people that can hear it. But then I'm also hearing that as whoever, and I'm hearing this kind of loudly, whoever was the channeler creating that, at some point tapped into energies that weren't the original channeled message. So that some of the channeled messages come from that divine source energy, and it's like that channel. But then as whoever was channeling the messages started to kind of explore the channeling, there was some channeling that were coming from places that were not I don't like saying positive or negative, because in my mind, it's all just stuff we either understand or don't understand. It's just like insects. If we don't know what an insect does, it's scary. But if we do know what it does, it's not. So I'm not going to say positive or negative, but at some point, those messages were coming from a place that wasn't necessarily
Dark.
from the highest good. But it started that way. So when experiencing some of the channeled messages, just be conscious. And I'm also hearing that you can feel when it's coming from the sort of, that you can feel when it's coming from the right place or not from the right place. And that there's layers to the channeling of those messages.
But I can decode them. Were they meant for me?
Not just you specifically,
right?
But because you have a connection and you have the ability, you have that insight, you can tell when messages are coming from that divine source, higher vibrational place, or when it's coming from somewhere else. And there's some messages coming from both.
Okay, there's like a specific album cover. Actually, there's two. There's one, and I had a vision, okay? And this is very important to my life purpose. And so it was a big piece of parchment paper with holy fire ink on it. Okay, this is my life purpose. And so did they channel that? Did they channel my vision from a past lifetime?
What I'm hearing is that we're given information as we hear it and resonate with it. And that information is all part of almost like a bank of information, or like, so like this collective consciousness information. And so these images, they may come from historical context, they may come from different things. They're almost stored in this bank. And then different people will tap into similar messages. So it's not necessarily someone from that place channeled this specific message for you, but that this message, it's like when you need an image for something and you go to the internet and you're like, hey, I need an image of a sunrise. And then 5 images of the sunrise show up, and then you choose one. And then that's the one that resonates with you. What happens is that the person sending this message or channeling this message went, I need an image for this message, and chose that image, which then you connect to, because it's like 2 people choosing the same image of the same sunset, but it's not that the sunset was just for you. Do you know what I mean? So it came from that bank.
That was very sacred, protected information they tapped.
But I'm hearing that that information exists in a number of different forms. That particular, I don't know anything about it, so this is just what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that that information exists in a number of forms, and was, even though in specific instances was shared in specific ways, it exists in different forms, is what I'm hearing. And that particular form, that particular coding is the word I just heard, the encoding of that particular image. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but the encoding.
You're dead on, because that is code on that parchment paper, and I am referencing the album cover of Coda.
Okay, and so that's what I'm hearing, is that the encoding of it is taking that message, but that same message could exist in different forms and codes and ways. But that particular message was coded in a way to be heard by the people that will hear it in that coding, as opposed to perhaps a totally different way by different people, but it's the same energy. I'm hearing the same resonance.
Yeah. So I got to ask this. This is my last question. And then you can ask me questions. Okay, so the story of, let's say, I would say it's more Ishtar connection with the album cover of it has the mothership on it. Is there that story there in that image? Part of it.
I'm hearing no. What I'm hearing is the words "a playful accident." So let me just understand what that is about.
Playful accident.
Playful accident is what I just heard. So I'm not familiar with the album cover that you're talking about, or the image that you're talking about. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm hearing. Okay. So what I'm hearing is, at the time of that creation, I'm hearing that there was some scattered energy, that there was some parts being tapped into and other parts kind of scattered. Like
there's different story pieces on it.
Yeah. And so pieces of it are that connection and other pieces aren't. So in its entirety, no. But it's like little pieces of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to ask another question about this. Sure. Are they trying to convey a connection to royalty in there through the use of the Zeppelin? Like, There's some water.
Okay. So what I'm getting is a variable which is not yes or no. What it means is that there's two opposing things. That when it was created, there were actually two different ideas. That actually it wasn't just one person that created it. So it was a connection of two ideas that created it. So one part was connecting to one thing and another part was connecting to one thing, and then they kind of created this whole. So it's actually sort of a combination of two parts. So it's not no, just one, this is what it was, because I'm getting that there were two or maybe more energies creating this thing that had very differing ideas of the connection of it. And so they collaborated to create this connection. So there is aspects of that and there is aspects of something else, which is why it doesn't solidly fit into one place.
Yeah, I kind of, there's so much going on there. It's hard for me to look at because, anyways, I tap into that. Okay, one more question. Was I one of the people that they wrote Stairway to Heaven for? I've asked this question before. That's okay.
No, I am getting information. I just don't know how to translate it. Like I'm hearing the energy of it. And so I sometimes just have to kind of, again, it's a variable. So what I'm getting is yes and no, in that same thing as before.
Right.
They tapped into that divine source wisdom, created something that is then heard on varying levels. For some people, it's just a song. For some people, it's background noise. For some people, it's an intrinsic message because they get that divine connection to that information. So in terms of, was it written for you? Not necessarily, but was it written for you as the person that could connect on that particular level? Yes.
Right. I get it. Yeah. I've gotten yes. I was one of 4. So, and that was channeled. That was channeled. It took him 10 minutes to write it. That he wrote that in 10 minutes. So anyways, what questions you got